the next movie I saw was another documentary called Tiny. And it was directed by a guy called Christopher Smith. And basically the idea of the movie was that he is a guy about our age. I don't know, probably in his late 20s, maybe even early 30s. And he just he's just trying to find where he is in his life. You know, he opens the film basically saying, I want to know what the next 30 of my, 30 years of my life are going to be. And perhaps this is a way of doing it. And essentially what it is, it's the story of people that build really tiny houses. And essentially when I say tiny, I mean like, I think the smallest house featured is 84 square feet, and the biggest was perhaps 300, and that was just barely 300. And so it's exactly what it looks like. It's just a tiny little house with the bare essentials in it, and these people are making their life doing it. So essentially what the movie does is it sort of features this do-it-yourself culture. It jumps back and forth between showcasing different people's houses that are already complete and this guy actually building his own house, and sort of going back and forth between him and his girlfriend and sort of their journey. I think he bought a plot of land in Colorado, just this beautiful looking piece of land, and he wanted to essentially minimize his impact on this piece of land as much as possible. And so what I think it's Colorado, because I'm pretty sure they have laws where there's a minimum size house that you can actually build, and the house he was building was not big enough to fit that minimum, and so he actually had to build this on the back of like a trailer. And so he builds this house on a trailer, and you actually see that a lot of other people do this, and a lot of people actually sort of rent backyards from people and live in like people's backyards in their tiny little houses. Okay. So it's really fascinating. I mean, I'm sort of a do-it-yourselfer. I'm really fascinated with that kind of stuff, get my hands dirty. And there's a quote in the movie. It says, "It's not very big, but it feels very big." And there's a lot of meaning to that. Like it goes into that. So it's like, obviously, like these people put their own work into it, so it feels big to them. Like it's a big deal that this guy is building his own house and living in it, and his girlfriend's also helping him. You come to find out that it's not as easy as he thought it was going to be, and ultimately it actually cost him a lot of money in the long run. He actually runs out of money at some point and has to start like selling random stuff on Craigslist to start making enough money to where he can finish this house. And so it's really fascinating in that sense. And it really sort of goes with that old mantra, the reduce, reuse, recycle. It really focuses on the reduce part. Like it does that. Although the one negative thing I will say about the movie is it doesn't beat you over the head, and it doesn't make you feel bad for like, living in whatever establishment you have right now. Yeah. It does really sort of support the ideas like, hey, look at how you can reduce the clutter in your life. But what's happening is a lot of different heads are telling me what I should be doing, but they're not telling me why. They're not telling me the effects of what I'm doing. And I guess maybe I didn't want, it's like a very like happy movie. It's, it's not like, these are all the bad things that happen when you do this, this, and this, and this. And it could have gone that direction. I think the movie's only like 50 minutes. It's not very long in terms of being like a full feature movie. It doesn't have to be, though. So ultimately, you see this guy from sort of day one to the day he does complete his house. I'll spoil that part. He does finish it, but it's a very interesting journey. And I thought he did a really good job at sort of distracting you in terms of like, I'm going to show you this, and now I'm going to show you this, what I did, and then I'm going to show you this other person's house and that lifestyle. But it's not for everyone, because essentially once people start having children, once people start like expanding their lives, these houses can't support that. So it's either single person or sort of couples living in these houses, because that's really all they can support. And it actually, there's a sequence in the movie that sort of shows this guy like forcing himself out of this tiny house into like, I think like a 500 square foot house. And then his other tiny houses are out in the backyard. Like he just can't give them up. So it's like an addicting kind of thing, which is really interesting. But it's not for everyone. I would say that. The movie's not for everyone. But I think it's interesting. It's a little fascinating because it's this sort of underground movement. And it's really funny because you see there's one sequence in the movie where you just see him like on YouTube, like how to he's trying to figure out like electrical wiring. And he's watching a YouTube video. And it's like, that is our culture now. It's like you can literally get away and do so many things on your own. And that's what this guy does in this movie. So I liked it. It was called Tiny, a story about being small or something like that. Had a weird subtitle, but I enjoyed it.
Cool. A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.